There's been some people will say, well, we're not going to sell it now because the economy is down. But I recently went up to that new mall in Linfield that they just built, and that really doesn't look like the economy is down if somebody puts their mind to doing something. The estimates are $750,000 to $1 million per acre. Now, I think the city of Lynn should either sell the land, should lease the land, or develop the land. And one of the things I'm advocating for is if we do that when you have a one-time influx of capital, you can't really use it for personnel. You can't use it for people because it's not a recurring amount. However, if we do lease it and we have recurring amounts coming in, I say that we put that in a revolving account solely for addressing the schools that are crumbling. If we were able to do that, we'll free up capital to do other things in the city of Lynn. We're building the Marshall Middle School. We have another school in the pipeline, which is probably 7-8 years away, which will just be another school. But we have, 22, whatever the number is, schools in the city of Lynn, with estimates right now of upwards of $22 million worth of everyday repairs that have to be done. I say we put it in a dedicated revolving account to address those issues. But it is a capital resource that we have in the city of Lynn that nothing's happened on, and it's available to us, and I think we need to move on it.
Tim, how many acres?
I'm sorry?
Did you mention how many acres?
Yeah, I think the usable land is probably anywhere approximately, you might give or take 16 to 20. I think there's upwards of 75 acres.
Substantial. Okay.
Now, can I ask you, Counselor, why did prior administrations act on this land?
That's a good question.
I can't speak for prior administrations.
I mean, you're a council president. You were aware of this when you were council president with Clancy administration and the
Sure.
McManus administration was in there. There was no talk or anything, because we had financial despair back then also.
Sure. I think that you would need the mayor on board to move something like this, and the former mayor, you'd have to ask him his opinion on that, but we had a difference of opinion on it.
Okay. Move on to your next point.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. What I'd like to see happen is I'd like the city of Lynn to create a small business assistance center. I think one of the things that we could do a better job at is focusing on our existing businesses and helping them expand during a time period where we're having a difficult time attracting new businesses. If we can help existing businesses expand, create additional employees, expand their locations, then we're doing economic development with the existing people that we have. But I'm talking about a soup to nuts, small business assistance center where we provide one-on-one case management with a particular business. Everything from navigating City Hall, permits and licenses, which all of that should be online. People should be able to get permits and licenses, every single aspect that they need, from the convenience of their home. Technical assistance, legal guidance, how to start a nonprofit organization, how to, part of it would be potentially partnering with North Shore Community College, have an educational aspect piece to it. Everything from, how to manage your own business to a virtual jobs resource center where, businesses in the city of Lynn can post what they have for jobs, almost like our own monster.com, and people who are looking for jobs can post their resumes and what they're looking for in the same resource center. We can create a Buy Lynn program. What are our people selling? What do people know what they're selling? Products, what are their services? Have that online. Have Lynn partner with our existing businesses so that we can see what's available out there. Emphasize buying Lynn. You can do everything from, inform them tax credits, incentive programs, how to get business certification, what the bidding laws are, how to bid on public contracts, on City of Lynn contracts. Also part of it would be, I know some cities and towns have had success reaching out and identifying businesses that are looking to relocate. We should have an arm that we're trying to identify businesses, pulling them into City of Lynn if they're having trouble in some other community or we're a better fit. And I know that some of these things are done, touching base with EDIC or community development, but this would be a dedicated small business assistance center that would allow someone to walk in off the street, here's my business, what can you help me with, start a case file, and the City of Lynn would walk them through.
So it would be
that's-
beyond SCORE, and it would be beyond what the North Shore Workforce Investment Board, something like that kind of
Absolutely.
model?
Yeah, this would be a city agency, dedicated to assisting existing and new businesses in the City of Lynn.
Okay.
So do we still have SCORE?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And they still pay a fee or a rent or?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that a
It's been successful, actually.
very successful?
I mean, 275 appointments last year.
Yeah, if you did something like this, it
Yeah.
would really need, this would really need somebody behind it, driving it
Full-time, yeah.
the whole time, because the City of Lynn actually did have something,
They
at least
had their
in
own,
concept, that was supposed to be like that, and SCORE ended up taking it over because in their final year of operation,
Yeah.
they paid out over $100,000 in salary and had 3 appointments for the year. So, it was basically a vacant office down in Central Square.
So we'd want to work with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The executives at SCORE, that's not a non-paid situation, right?
Correct.
Okay, but they have access to the funds
Yes.
with the appointments that they make and help
And they
out.
work with Jim closely as well.
No, they don't have access to the funds.
Right.
They don't use any of the funds. If somebody's looking for a loan or
Yeah, they have,
send it to Jim.
they send it to Jim, right?
And the city pays to the chamber.
Right.
Right, oh, exactly. So part of that foundation, half that idea is already in place.
Right, and we've already talked about putting together some type of map through City Hall to start your business and try to get all of the facts together and put them on our website and trying to put them for new businesses.
You know, the paid position.
But I know what he's saying.
But no, but
dedicated is
somebody-
really
exactly.
the key. Somebody that's responsible.
So
You
we're
get what you pay
philosophically
for.
aligned,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
good.
Next point.
Excellent. I've always, and I know Jim's done a great job with tax incremental finance agreements, and people talk about that, and that's great. And I know that, part of that is we give preference to qualified, job applicants if they're from Lynn. I'd like to change that preference to, mandatory. I've always thought that, one of the besides education, education really combines with jobs. People need jobs, young people need jobs, people need jobs. It not only helps the economy and business growth, but it keeps down crime. Everybody's always looking for a job. So if we give tax incremental financing agreements, I think that we should expand that, not only give that tax break, but one of the conditions should be that hiring Lynn residents are mandated. They have to be qualified. You'd put the criteria in place, and put a number in place. You'd obviously negotiate that number. So I think that we need to expand that a step further, and that's something that I would think we should make mandatory.
I believe that leads us to 2 more points.
I think that's one more.
One more? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I have one point that that's not one of my points, but and it's probably insensitive to say, but I do think the Chamber of Commerce should move back downtown. That's, just my own personal preference. I think it would be something that's a good precedent. It would be a good commitment to downtown, and I think it would show people that, you had a great location before, nothing wrong with this location, and I know that there were many factors involved, but I think that's an important piece of business development. But that being said, I think that we need to do something, my last point, is something more formal when it comes to the Suffolk Downs. If the casino is going to go with Suffolk Downs, I don't think that we can wait for the announcement to be made and then try to jump on the coattails of what's happening. I know that people have had, sporadic conversations with Chip Tuttle, people that are involved, but I really do think that we need to put together a Suffolk Downs, some type of collaboration committee right now. With not only people in the city of Lynn, people outside the city of Lynn. There's going to be millions of dollars of goods and services available, not only with construction, but after things are up and running, and we're so close and there's such a value to that. I don't think we've positioned ourselves right now. I don't think that we have we have the in-depth relationship with the people that are going to be moving that forward. And if Suffolk Downs doesn't get it, they don't get it. But, I just don't think that we should wait until the announcement is made. I think we need to have it in place now.
Two things. One is that Suffolk Downs had a meeting with the communities about a month ago. I think Leslie sent out a flyer or something.
Oh, we had a lot of participation,
There was
actually.
like 300 people there. It was not, aside from myself, I did not recognize or see one single person from Lynn.
There were other businesses there from Lynn, though.
Yeah,
There absolutely were. There definitely were.
That
You
was
mean,
at North Shore. The first one was at Suffolk Downs itself.
Yeah, I went to one of those.
Okay, and there was no, they went through every city councilor, every selectman from all the surrounding communities, all the chamber members, and Lynn wasn't even there. And so I support your initiative to try and be at the table rather than being outside and waiting to be invited in.
Let's talk a little bit about that, Leslie, because the chambers have been involved with Suffolk Downs.
absolutely. In fact,
Partnered
with Ralph, we were
the-
one of the first chambers to even connect, and with John, one of the first chambers to connect with Suffolk Downs.
Just pulling everything
Yeah,
together.
absolutely.
That's what it's like.
Yeah.
Representing Lynn, working regionally, that's the concept. That's-
I wasn't saying that we weren't working with them. I just said,
In-
that at this one meeting, they brought people in from all over the United States
Yeah.
to show how Caesars has taken a small businessman and made him bigger, and he went around the
Integrated
room.
city
Right,
plan.
and
I
he
think we
went
should
around
do
the
that right away.
room, and introducing every
with the city.
member of the community.
Just realize, Dave, that was one of half a dozen meetings.
Exactly.
In Salem, there was quite a presence of Lynn. As a matter of fact, I sat at a couple
There were a
round
lot
tables,
of-
and there was some sole proprietary businesses, a couple of chamber members, a couple of, as a matter of fact, I tried to sell one of them onto the chamber.
Thank you.
There's a lot of activity going on. I guess
Absolutely.
what I want to ask Tim is, why do you believe that there hasn't been, and if that's the belief, what is the city council doing today what are we waiting for?
Yeah, I'm not saying that the chamber and sporadic people from Lynn aren't involved in keeping
But
an eye on
even
this.
to get City Hall involved.
Sure, I think the city itself has to form something formal. The administration in the city of Lynn, the development team, take people from outside that are experts, the people at the waterfront who own the property down the waterfront, and I think we need to form a formal committee from the top down. I'm not saying that the chamber hasn't done anything or individual businesses haven't been involved. I'm saying that the city hasn't done anything formally to put, here's our team, this is what we're looking to do, this is what the advantages that we're trying to get, or what can we do, what can a partnership between the two of us, work. And I think we have to be more formal when it comes to that as a city, a municipality.
So, yeah, I think, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have to seek the information. And the initial, although they've been, last week, they had 2 more meetings over at Suffolk, they released the model. If you don't seek the information, it goes right by you. And the meetings that we had with Ralph was a result of a meeting that we reached out to Revere to see what they were doing. We invited the council president in Revere. Ira set a meeting, correct, with Chip Tuttle. That's when the chamber went over. So the point is you have to seek the information or it goes right by you.
Well, Jim, what has your office been doing?
I would, on the Suffolk Downs
Yeah.
casino issue, I would say for the last 2 years, we've been meeting with the North Shore Business Alliance. And the strategy that we're trying to use is, and I think what Tim's saying is, you want to be, well, 2 things. A, you want to be defined as a quote-unquote affected community, because when you are designated as that, then you're entitled to infrastructure improvements and so forth. So with the North Shore Business Alliance, that's what we're trying to get, working with the state delegation, that targeted affected community status. But the other point is, if the casino goes there, think about all the businesses that, you know, Lynn businesses that can do business with the casino. And I think that that's critical. So that's really where we have to work regionally and partner to get that done.
So even if we're not designated like a Saugus,
Yeah,
there is some mitigation money, but you have to be at the table at least to know what's going on.
right.
Yeah, you just won't walk in and do business with
They're not gonna
Caesar's.
seek you
There
out.
is a
Right.
procurement process, there's a review process. I mean, it's like going for a job interview at the highest level.
Yep.
So I agree that,
Be at the table.
I think that you should really, if you're pushing something, that should be the first point,
Yeah,
is
sooner rather than
how to
later.
be more aggressive in the community and the administration in the development area. I mean, that's what we want to hear is, this is what is in place, and we're not waiting to be invited, we're knocking on the doors ourselves.
Okay. No, sorry. I was gonna go to another point, unrelated. Sorry, because I know we're getting short on time. You know, what do you think of when you think of the natural resources in the city of Lynn? Everybody talks about, you know, the waterfront, Lynn Woods, and Gannon Golf Course, right? Those are the big natural resources. The one resource that's never discussed that we have is fresh water.
I knew you were going to say that.
We have
Sorry.
fresh water. If you go up into Lynn Woods, we have these two incredible, beautiful, breathtaking reservoirs. We also have one of the largest bottling manufacturers in Massachusetts, if not the largest bottling manufacturer. Why don't we sell water? Why don't we bottle water and sell it? The town of Ayer does it.
It was a discussion in
Right.
Gloucester as well.
You know, why don't, you know, let the kids come up with some name, partner with Gorelick Farms or some other entity, or you know, I think there's an old bottling plant on Linwood Street, if my memory is right. And, you know, and I had some preliminary discussions a few months ago, but it's a resource that we have that we've just never looked into. Now, there are going to be, there are certain restrictions, you can only pump out a certain amount of water, you always comply, you want to comply with anything with the DEP, but it's another asset that we have, and it's another creative, out-of-the-box thinking that we can do things differently if we just move on from archaic thinking that what we've done over the past 30, 40, 50 years, which is just the same thing over and over again. And, you know, I think it's something that's worth exploring, something that would create pride in the city of Lynn, something that would create jobs, and more jobs in the city of Lynn, and would potentially reduce water rates. Just an idea.
Anyone else?
Well,
Anything to add?
Eric,
I have a
so,
question.
are your 6 points?
There was seven.
There was 7, okay. All right.
Does that include the chamber?
Yeah, so rounding back, none of your 6 points involve zoning, which is the hot issue with the chamber right now, based on all the studies that have been done in the last 2 years that say our antiquated zoning ordinances are the big holdback for development in Lynn. You, I assume, consciously left them off of your list.
No, what I did is I didn't want to come here today and rehash the same topics of conversation that we have continually rehashed over and over again. I'm trying to focus on innovation, new ideas. Am I very open to, you know, redoing the zoning, looking at all the permitting process? Absolutely. I've said that from the beginning. I say that now. When I've been here before, you've asked me the same questions, and I said I'm all game. I do think that zoning needs to be updated. I think the Boston Street corridor is, 10 years ago, that was going to be the new downtown, and now we're just littered with vacant storefronts. I think that the zoning there has to be changed now, but I don't think that's what's causing that to happen. But, it's because it's not on my list doesn't mean that I don't think it's important.
Can I ask you about the casino again? Why haven't you thought, if you or the city council or you and the mayor's office thought about creating a committee before this moment? It's been around for years now.
it's not this moment. You know, it's something that I've, you know, as I've done my research and being a candidate for mayor, and really try to study as to what we haven't done right in the past, you know, it occurred to me that we seem to get to the table too late. So, you know, with this still in